As we age, the foods we once thought were harmless or even healthy can start affecting us in very different ways. And dairy is one of the biggest examples. You might have grown up hearing that milk builds strong bones, that cheese is a good source of calcium, or that yogurt is good for the gut. But after 60, your body just doesn't process dairy the same way it used to. Your digestive enzymes slow down, your gut becomes more sensitive, and your immune system is more reactive to certain compounds that didn't bother you years ago. This is why some of the most common dairy products, ones you'll find in almost every U.S. kitchen, can quietly cause issues like joint pain, bloating, sinus pressure, brain fog, and even inflammation that spreads through the body without obvious symptoms at first. What makes this tricky is that many of these products are still marketed as healthy, especially for seniors. But what they don't mention is how those same foods can raise your blood pressure, stress your kidneys, or interfere with how your brain and gut communicate. Some everyday foods start doing more harm than good after 60. And if more people understood this, they could avoid years of discomfort they thought was just aging. So if what you hear today makes sense to you, pass it along. It might be exactly the wake-up call a friend or loved one needs. Now, the good news is, not all dairy is bad. But there are 3 big offenders I want you to be aware of, and 3 safer, more nourishing alternatives you can turn to instead. Let's start with the most common one of all. The glass that millions of seniors still drink every day without realizing what it's doing inside their body. Let's start with something that's been sitting in refrigerators for decades. A glass of milk. Maybe it's poured into your cereal, added to your coffee, or taken at bedtime because it helps you sleep. And especially if it's labeled skim or low-fat, it might seem like the smart, heart-healthy choice. But here's the part most people over 60 never hear. And it's important. That glass of milk might not be doing what you think it is. In fact, for many seniors, it could be quietly stirring up inflammation, raising blood sugar, or interfering with digestion. Now, I'm not saying milk is poison. Far from it. But we have to be honest about how the body changes with age, and what that means for the way milk behaves inside us. After 60, your ability to digest lactose, the natural sugar in milk, drops significantly. Even if you've never been lactose intolerant, you might now notice gas, bloating, or sluggishness after a glass. But it's not just the lactose. Most conventional cow's milk in the U.S., especially the low-fat kind, contains a type of protein called A1 casein. Now, A1 casein is known to trigger inflammation in the gut, especially in older adults with weakened gut linings. That inflammation doesn't just stay in the belly, it can affect your joints, your mood, your skin, and even your memory. And if you're choosing skim or low-fat milk, you're actually removing the very fats that help absorb vitamins like D, K2, and A, the ones needed for bone health, cognition, and immune support. What's left is a watery product that spikes blood sugar faster, offers fewer usable nutrients, and digests poorly. On top of that, many skim milk brands are fortified with synthetic vitamin D2 and powdered milk solids to make up for the lack of taste and texture, but these can stress the kidneys and don't absorb well in older adults. So what feels like a clean, healthy habit might be quietly doing more harm than good. The good news? There are better options. Gentler, cleaner dairy alternatives that your body can actually use, and that we'll talk about shortly. But before we get there, let's look at another common item. Not a drink. This time, it's one of the most processed forms of dairy, and it's next. The cheese slice. Most of the cheese products we see in stores, those individually wrapped singles, cheese food slices, or blocks that melt just a little too perfectly, are what we call processed cheese products. And for seniors, especially those over 60, these can quietly cause a cascade of problems. Why? Well, to begin with, these products are often made from milk byproducts, not whole milk. They're blended with emulsifying salts, preservatives, artificial colors, and refined oils. Things your body was never meant to digest daily. Each slice may look innocent, but it's packed with sodium, sometimes even more than a bag of salty chips. And as you know, for aging kidneys or anyone managing blood pressure, sodium can be a real concern. It causes fluid retention, bloating in the hands and ankles, and puts extra strain on the heart, something no senior can afford to ignore. But there's another layer here that often gets missed. These cheese-like products lack real nutrient density. Unlike natural aged cheese, which can offer beneficial fats, calcium, and vitamin K2, processed cheese is nutritionally hollow. It contains additives that may interfere with cognitive clarity, gut health, and even contribute to inflammatory reactions over time. And that perfectly creamy melt? It often comes from modified food starches and artificial binders, things that can disrupt the balance of bacteria in your gut and leave you feeling heavy, sluggish, or inflamed. So while it's tempting to reach for a slice and think, it's just a bit of cheese, what you're actually getting is a highly engineered product that may be quietly taxing your body, especially if it's a regular part of your meals. Now, I know habits are hard to change, and I'm not asking anyone to give up flavor or comfort, but I do want to show you a better way, something that satisfies the craving for creamy, rich taste, without the chemicals, salt load, or inflammatory effects. But here's the thing. The more we shine a light on what's really in our food, the more people can protect their health before problems start. If you're finding this eye-opening, give this video a like so it reaches others who might need the same wake-up call. But before we do, there's one more dairy food we need to talk about. One that's often considered one of the healthiest choices in the entire dairy aisle: yogurt. Especially those colorful cups with fruit on the bottom, or those labeled light, low-fat, or digestive-friendly. I can't tell you how many patients over 60 have told me, "I eat yogurt every day. It's good for my gut, right?" And I understand why. It's creamy, convenient, familiar. It's been marketed for years as a smart choice, especially for older adults who want to stay regular, manage weight, or protect their bones. But here's the part many people never hear. Not all yogurt is created equal. In fact, many of the most popular yogurts, the kind you'll find in almost every grocery store across the US, are more like soft candy than health food. Take a look at the label sometime. Some of these fruit yogurts contain 12, 15, even 20 grams of added sugar in a single cup. That's more than a glazed donut. And it's not just sugar. To make them low-fat and shelf-stable, these yogurts are often filled with artificial sweeteners, thickeners, emulsifiers, and preservatives. Things that may irritate an aging gut and disrupt the balance of your microbiome. That healthy bacteria we all hear about? Some flavored yogurts barely have any live cultures left by the time they reach your spoon, and the ones that do may not even survive the journey through your digestive system. For many seniors, especially those with slower digestion or sensitive stomachs, these yogurts can actually cause more bloating, irregularity, and discomfort, not less. There's also the fat issue. Many of these cups are labeled non-fat or low-fat, which may sound good on paper, but fat is what your body needs to absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K, nutrients crucial for bone strength, immune support, and memory. Without that fat, you're left with sugar, dairy protein, and a few bacteria strains. And that's if you're lucky. So what you think is helping your digestion or nourishing your body might actually be spiking your blood sugar, stressing your gut, and starving your cells of the nutrients they need. Now, I'm not saying yogurt is off limits, but it's time we start looking past the pretty packaging and clever marketing and really understand what's inside that cup, because there are better ways to care for your gut, safer ways to nourish your bones, and smarter ways to enjoy creamy, probiotic-rich foods without the downsides. And that's exactly where we're headed next. Because now that we've covered the 3 most common dairy products that can quietly wear down your body after 60, it's time to shift the focus. Before we move on, I'd love to hear your story. We all have that one food we still reach for out of habit, even if we suspect it's not the best for us. Sharing yours might help someone else realize they're not alone in making that change. Let me show you 3 alternatives. Clean, senior-friendly foods that still give you the taste, texture, and nutrients you're looking for, but with far less inflammation, far better digestion, and much more support for long-term strength and clarity. Let's take a look. Now that we've walked through the 3 most common dairy products that can quietly chip away at your gut health, energy, and memory after 60, let's shift the conversation toward healing. Because here's the truth. You don't have to give up all comfort foods. You don't have to give up creaminess or richness or the satisfaction that dairy used to bring. You just need to choose the versions that actually work with your body, not against it. And today, I want to show you 3 better alternatives. 2 of them are still dairy, yes, but they come from sources and processes that are far gentler on the aging gut. The third is a plant-based option that's rising fast in nutritional science for seniors, and it might surprise you how well it supports bones, brain, and digestion, all at once. Let's start with the first. Let's go back to that glass of milk for a moment. Because the issue with conventional milk isn't always just the lactose, though that can be a big factor. For many seniors, especially those dealing with joint pain, digestive problems, or autoimmune flares, the real issue may be a protein called A1 beta-casein, which is found in most modern cow's milk sold in U.S. stores. This protein, once digested, breaks down into something called BCM7, a compound that's been shown to irritate the gut lining, increase inflammation, and trigger discomfort in sensitive people, particularly older adults whose systems don't bounce back the way they used to. But there's a solution. It's called A2 milk. And yes, it's still cow's milk, just from older or specially selected cows that naturally produce only the gentler A2 casein. This form of milk is often easier to digest, less likely to cause bloating, and may help seniors get the calcium and protein they need, without the inflammatory baggage. Even better, many people over 60 find they can tolerate goat's milk even more comfortably. Goat's milk is naturally lower in lactose, contains only A2-type casein, and is packed with bioavailable nutrients, including medium-chain fatty acids that support brain energy and gut health. If you miss milk, but milk doesn't seem to miss you, try giving A2 milk or goat's milk a chance. Warm it gently and sip it with a pinch of cinnamon. Use it in your tea, your oatmeal, or your protein shakes. You might be surprised how your body thanks you for the upgrade. And if you're finding these swaps helpful, subscribe to the channel. There's plenty more ahead to help you enjoy your favorite foods without the downsides. Now, let's move to the second swap, a better way to enjoy cheese, without the sodium, the chemicals, or the digestive distress. Instead of processed cheese slices or cheese food blocks, try switching to aged cheeses, fermented cheeses, or raw milk cheeses from natural sources. These cheeses, like Parmesan, Manchego, aged cheddar, or goat cheese, are very different from the ultra-processed versions. For starters, aged cheeses go through a natural fermentation process that breaks down most of the lactose, making them far easier on your gut. They also contain live enzymes, beneficial bacteria, and vitamin K2, which helps guide calcium into your bones and away from your arteries. And because they're so flavorful, you only need a small amount to feel satisfied. Goat cheese, for example, is creamy, tangy, and naturally low in A1 casein. It's a favorite among my patients who want something spreadable without the bloating that often comes from cream cheese or sour cream. And Parmesan? Just a few shavings can add rich flavor, protein, and minerals, with none of the synthetic additives or emulsifiers you'd find in a processed slice. What's important is quality over quantity. A small amount of aged natural cheese can support bone health, digestion, and even mood, without overwhelming your kidneys or spiking your sodium load. So if cheese is something you enjoy, you don't have to give it up. You just need to choose real cheese, aged, fermented, from trusted sources, and always in moderation. Now, let's talk about one final alternative. It's not dairy at all, but it's one of the most promising plant-based options for seniors I've seen, especially if you want something creamy, gut-friendly, and nutrient-rich. I'm talking about unsweetened almond yogurt, especially those that include live probiotic cultures and are made without added gums or sugars. Here's why this is different. First, almond yogurt is naturally lactose-free, which removes one of the biggest digestive hurdles. Second, it's made with anti-inflammatory fats, vitamin E, and magnesium, nutrients that support your heart, skin, brain, and immune system, all of which become more vulnerable with age. And when it's made properly, with real almonds, clean ingredients, and gut-friendly probiotic strains like L. acidophilus or B. lactis, it can help restore microbial balance in the colon, improving digestion, mood, and regularity. But a word of caution here. Not all almond yogurts are created equal. Some are packed with sweeteners, synthetic thickeners, or low-quality oils, which can cancel out the benefits. So, what should you look for? Unsweetened or very low sugar. Short, recognizable ingredient list contains live cultures. No carrageenan or artificial gums. When you find one that meets those standards, almond yogurt becomes an incredibly versatile tool in a senior's diet. You can stir in cinnamon and ground flaxseed for breakfast, use it as a base for smoothies, or pair it with fresh berries and walnuts for a heart-healthy dessert. It's creamy, satisfying, and refreshingly light, and your gut will thank you for it. So there you have it. 3 safer, smarter ways to enjoy the comfort of dairy, without the strain, the swelling, or the sluggishness. Whether it's A2 milk, aged goat cheese, or a clean almond yogurt, the key is to support your body, not just feed it. Because after 60, your digestion, immunity, and clarity depend on these small daily choices. The right proteins, the right fats, the right balance of bacteria and nutrients. And when you make those choices, you're not just avoiding discomfort. You're actively nourishing your energy, your memory, and your strength for years to come. So the next time you reach for dairy, ask yourself, is this helping me heal or holding me back? You have better options now. Gentler, cleaner, more supportive. And your body and mind will feel the difference. If this helped you see dairy in a new light, give it a like. It tells us to keep making videos like this. And if you've made a switch that's helped your digestion or energy, share it in the comments. Your story might help someone else too. Don't forget to subscribe for more age-wise, body-wise tips, because small choices really can shape how you feel every single day.